Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey, everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese. Ghostly Tales from Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you a story called Wang Liulang. In ancient China, there is a legend like this. If a person drowns in a river and dies unnaturally, their soul will linger in the watery area where they perished, transforming into a water ghost. These water ghosts retain human emotions and memories. If they were kind during their lifetime, they become benevolent spirits. If they were malicious, they become malevolent ghosts. However, these water ghosts are incredibly pitiable. Not only are they unable to leave the area where they drowned, but they also endure the icy currents of the river and endless solitude each day. Their only chance of departure is to find someone who drowned in the same waters during a specific time and take their place. Upon leaving the watery domain, these water ghosts generally transform back into humans. Only a tiny minority of exceptionally virtuous water ghosts achieve immortal status and eternal life. And now, the story we're about to tell is related to these water ghosts. There was a man surnamed Su who lived in the northern part of Sichuan, engaging in fishing as his profession. Every night, he would bring along some wine and go to the riverbank, where he would drink and fish simultaneously. Every time Su drank, he would pour a cup of wine onto the ground as an offering, then facing the river, he would pray. "Oh, water ghost of the river! Please come and have a drink here?" His neighbors found him quite peculiar, but as time went on, they got used to it. What was even more strange was that while others couldn't catch many fish in that area, Su would always manage to fill his basket with fish each time. One evening, Su was again pouring himself a drink by the shore when a young man came by and started pacing around him, unwilling to leave. Seeing the young man, Su smiled and invited him to join him for a drink. To his surprise, the young man accepted without hesitation, sitting down and sharing a drink with Su. As a result, they spent the entire night by the riverside, but Su didn't catch a single fish. Feeling disappointed, Su was about to leave when the young man stood up and said, "To thank you for inviting me to drink, let me go downstream and drive the fish towards you." With that, the young man left in a carefree manner. Not long after, he returned and said, "Many fish have arrived. Hurry and catch them." True to his words, not much time passed before Su heard the sounds of fish splashing in the river. Overjoyed, he quickly cast his fishing net. This time, he caught several fish, each over a foot long. Su thanked the young man profusely, but the young man just smiled without saying a word. When Su was about to head home, he wanted to give the largest fish to the young man, but the young man refused. He told Su, "I'm very grateful for the good wine you've treated me to multiple times. Helping you with fishing is a small matter and doesn't count as repayment. If you don't mind, I hope we can often drink and fish together in the future." This puzzled Su, and he said, "We've only spent one evening drinking together. How can you say it's multiple times? If you're willing to join me for drinks frequently, that's what I hope for as well. I'm just ashamed that I can't repay you for helping me catch fish." Su also asked the young man's name, to which he replied, "My surname is Wang. You can call me Wang Liulang." After this exchange, the two went their separate ways. The next day, Su sold the fish he caught the previous night and used the money to buy more wine. In the evening, he eagerly returned to the riverbank, only to find that the young man had already arrived. They happily began drinking together once more. After a few drinks, the young man got up and went to help Su catch fish again. Time flew by, and for half a year, the two of them drank and fished together every night. One day, the young man suddenly told Su, "Since we met, our bond has become stronger than that of real brothers. But now, the day of our parting is approaching." His expression turned sorrowful as he spoke. Su was taken aback by the young man's words and asked in surprise what was going on. The young man hesitated to speak a few times but finally opened up. He said, "I believe our friendship has deepened greatly. You might not be surprised when I tell you the truth. Now, the time has come for us to part ways, so I might as well share everything with you. I hope you won't be frightened. The truth is, I'm not a human. I'm a water ghost. When I was alive, I loved drinking. One day, I got drunk and accidentally drowned here. It's been several years since that happened. The reason you've caught more fish than others in the past is that I secretly helped you drive the fish towards your net. I did this mainly to repay your gesture of pouring wine before each fishing trip. Drinking myself to death was a crime. Tomorrow, my sentence will be completed. Someone else will come to replace me as the water ghost here, and I will be reborn as a human in the mortal realm. Despite our deep friendship, we only have tonight to be together. Thinking about the permanent separation makes me really sad." Upon hearing that Wang Liulang was a ghost, Su was initially terrified. However, after spending so much time drinking and chatting together, he gradually became less afraid. Su listened to Wang Liulang's story and felt reluctant to say goodbye, sighing sadly. He raised his glass to Wang Liulang and said, "Liulang, let's not be sad anymore. Although we haven't known each other for long, our bond is strong. You leaving is, of course, a sorrowful event. But according to what you've said, you're here to atone for your wrongdoing. Your sentence is now over, and you can finally escape the cycle of suffering. That's something worth celebrating. Let's not be sad anymore. It wouldn't make sense." So, they put aside their sorrow and resumed drinking and chatting. Su then asked Wang Liulang, "Who will replace you?" Wang Liulang replied, "My elder brother, keep an eye on the riverbank. Tomorrow at noon, a young woman will pass by here. She will drown while crossing the river. She's the one who will take my place." At that moment, both of them heard the village roosters crowing. Dawn was approaching, and ghosts couldn't stay on the shore. They had to return to the water. Thus, with reluctance, Wang Liulang and Su bid farewell. The next day, Su returned to the riverbank, waiting earnestly to witness this strange event. Around noon, he indeed saw a young woman carrying a baby coming towards the river. The woman was about to cross the river when she slipped and fell in. In her panic, she managed to toss the baby onto the riverbank. The baby lay on the shore, kicking and crying. Meanwhile, the young woman struggled to stay afloat in the water. Unexpectedly, she managed to climb onto the riverbank, all wet and exhausted. She lay there for a long time, gasping for breath. Eventually, she picked up the baby and left. Seeing the young woman fall into the water, Su's heart ached. He wanted to rush over and save her immediately. However, he reconsidered, thinking that the young woman was supposed to replace Wang Liulang. He hesitated and refrained from saving her. When the young woman finally climbed out of the water, Su began to doubt the accuracy of Wang Liulang's words. Maybe he was being deceived. Come evening, Su was still fishing in the same spot. Wang Liulang appeared again and said, "Now we can meet again. Let's not talk about parting for now." Su asked him the reason, and Wang Liulang said, "The young woman has replaced me, but I pity the child she's holding. I don't want 2 lives to be lost because of me. Even though I'll continue to bear my punishment, I've decided to let her and the child go. I missed this chance, and who knows when there will be another person to take my place. Maybe it's fate that our paths haven't completely diverged. In my opinion, this might not be a bad thing." Touched by Wang Liulang's words, Su said, "You're a kind person. The divine beings will surely take note of everything you've done." From that day on, the two resumed their habit of drinking together. After a few days, Wang Liulang came to bid farewell again. Perplexed, Su asked if there was someone else to take his place. Wang Liulang said, "No one is replacing me this time. Last time, I showed compassion for the woman and her child, and the divine beings were aware of it. They see me as a kind person, willing to sacrifice myself to save others. They have appointed me as the local land god of Wuzhen in Zhaoyuan County. I'll be taking up the position in a few days. If you miss me, you can visit Wuzhen to see me. Don't give up due to the long journey." Su was overjoyed by this news and said, "You're kind-hearted and righteous. Becoming a deity is truly heartwarming. But humans and gods inhabit entirely different realms. Even if I'm not afraid of the distance, how could I possibly meet you there?" Wang Liulang replied, "Just go without worry. You don't need to be concerned about the rest." Wang Liulang urged Su to visit him and then left. Su returned home and decided to pack his belongings to visit Wuzhen immediately and see Wang Liulang. His wife saw him packing and smiled, saying, "Zhaoyuan County is hundreds of miles away from here. Even if there is a Wuzhen in that county, how can you talk to the clay statue on the altar?" Ignoring his wife's advice, Su went to Zhaoyuan County. He inquired from the locals and indeed found Wuzhen. He located the township and stayed at an inn there. Su asked the innkeeper where the local land temple was. The innkeeper was surprised and asked, "Sir, is your surname Su?" Su replied, "Yes, it is. How did you know my surname is Su?" The innkeeper continued. Is your hometown in Sichuan County? Su answered in astonishment. Yes, it is. How did you know? The innkeeper didn't answer him but hurriedly went outside. In a short while, the men of the town, along with their wives and children, gathered at the inn's entrance. Even the girls crowded around, curious. Suddenly, the whole town gathered around the inn, forming a crowd so dense that movement became difficult. They surrounded Su, looking at him with warmth and surprise in their eyes. Su was startled and asked them why they had come here. They explained. A few nights ago, we all dreamed of the land god at the same time. The land god told us. There is a friend of mine surnamed Su from Sichuan County who will come soon. When he arrives, please help him with some money. I will repay you all. It's strange that the entire town had the same dream. We are certain that the divine beings are asking for our assistance. So, we've all been waiting for your arrival here. Hearing this from the townspeople, Su was equally surprised. He immediately went to the land temple to offer prayers. Facing the clay statue of the land god, Su said, "Since we parted, I've thought of you day and night. Now that I've come from afar to fulfill our promise, I'm amazed that you guided the townspeople to help me financially through their dreams. I'm embarrassed that I don't have valuable gifts to offer you. The journey was long, and I only brought the wine we used to share by the river. If you don't mind, please accept it, just as we used to drink by the river." After the ritual, Su burned the ritual paper money. Soon, a gust of wind swept up from behind the god's altar, spinning for a while before dissipating. During that night, Su dreamt of Wang Liulang, who appeared well-dressed and completely different from his former ghostly self. Wang Liulang expressed gratitude to Su, saying, "Thank you for visiting me from afar. It's a pleasant surprise. However, as a minor deity now, I can't directly meet with you. Although we are close in distance, it feels like there's a great divide between us, which saddens me. The townspeople have offered you some modest gifts. Consider it a small token of my friendship. When you decide on a return date, I'll make sure to come to see you off." After spending a few days in Wuzhen, Su decided to return home. The locals warmly tried to persuade him to stay. They invited him for meals in the morning and drinks in the evening. Su had to accept multiple invitations each day. Eventually, he insisted on leaving, and the people came with gift lists and parcels, competing to bid him farewell with presents. Before long, the morning arrived, and the gifts from the townspeople filled a large sack. As he departed, the elderly and children from the town also came to bid him farewell. As Su left Wuzhen, a sudden whirlwind arose, accompanying him for over 10 miles. Su expressed his gratitude multiple times, saying to the whirlwind, "Liulang, please take care. You don't need to go to such lengths to see me off. You're a kind-hearted person. I believe you'll diligently protect the people here. You don't need my old friends' reminders anymore." The whirlwind circled on the ground for a while before gradually dissipating. The people of the town, seeing the whirlwind beside Su, were amazed once again. They speculated that it must be the land god. Consequently, the news spread quickly throughout the town. After returning home, Su's life gradually improved. He stopped fishing and started a small business. Whenever he encountered people from Zhaoyuan County, he would ask about the land god of Wuzhen. They told him that the land god of Wuzhen was highly efficacious, responding to the wishes of those who came to worship. However, some later stories also mentioned that Wang Liulang's land temple was in Shirking Village, Zhengqiu County. It's unclear which version is accurate. At the end of the story, the author adds a commentary. Wang Liulang became a deity but never forgot his friend from his days as a water ghost. That's the reason he became a divine being. Yet today, how many officials riding in their carriages still care about their old, poor friends? In my hometown, there was a scholar from a poor family. He had a childhood friend who had become an official in the city, with a hefty salary. The scholar intended to seek a position from his friend, believing he would surely help. The scholar took all his money, packed his belongings, and traveled 1,000 miles to see his friend. But the result left him disappointed. He ended up spending all his money, selling his horse, and only then managed to return home. His humorous younger brother composed a song to mock his fruitless persistence. The song goes, "The moon rises, and the older brother returns. He takes off his marten fur hat. The umbrella isn't open, and the horse turns into a donkey. Only when the boots stop creaking." I shared this to bring a smile to everyone's faces. After all, becoming a divine being in this world is incredibly rare. The story concludes here. The story also mentions a role related to the land god's divine office. According to tradition, in ancient China, the land god was one of the widespread deities in Chinese folk belief. Most of them were appointed after their virtuous and kind lives during their mortal years. Their position in the divine hierarchy is lower than that of city guardians, but they still receive offerings from the living. Their primary responsibility is to protect local farmers, ensuring good harvests every year, ensuring the safety of travelers passing through the area, aiding business people in successful endeavors, and ensuring that those buried in their domain are undisturbed. As a result, many Han Chinese citizens build small land temples around their villages and regularly offer prayers. This fascinating culture has persisted for thousands of years and continues to exist today. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tale. Wang Liulang. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.